This AI rendered representation of the proceedings in the United States versus Sean Combs is based on the official court transcripts.
In terms of the objection raised before our break to 7R,
Judge, I apologize. We're just waiting for the defendant. He isn't quite here yet.
oh, thank you for giving me the heads up.
No, that's all right. Thank you, Judge.
All right, before we bring the jury back, there was an objection raised to two of the government's exhibits, 7R 141 and 7R 148. My understanding is that they're identical, except for the added notes on 7R 148. As to 7R 141, subject to the government laying the proper foundation under 8036, the exhibit is admissible, so we'll see whether the foundation can be laid. As to 7R 148, my understanding is that in addition to the objection on 803 grounds, Mr. Steele, the principal objection is to the added notes under Rule 403, and I think that objection is well taken. We're going to have whatever video evidence is presented to the jury, and the jury can draw its own inferences and its own conclusions based on the review of the video. The added notes here are the individual's characterization of what he saw, and I think, principally, the objection is under Rule 403, that his impressions and opinions concerning a video that the jury is going to see is potentially prejudicial, and there's very little probative value given that the video will be shown to the jury. So on that basis, 7R 148 will be excluded, all right? Is the government? Well, let's get the jury back and then we can proceed. But any reason we cannot proceed at this time? Ms. Slavic?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Agnifilo?
No, Your Honor.
All right, let's bring back our jury. Is the government prepared to call its first witness?
Your Honor, before the government calls its first witness, the government moves to enter 4 stipulations agreed to between the parties. That's Government Exhibit 1301, 1302, 1303, and 1304.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Government's Exhibits 1301, 1302, 1303, 1304 received in evidence.
And with that, the government calls its first witness, Officer Israel Florez.
All right, the witness may approach.
Remain standing for a moment. Please raise your right hand.
Israel Florez, called as a witness by the government having been duly sworn, testified as follows.
Ms. Slavic, you may proceed.
Good afternoon, Officer Florez.
Good afternoon.
Could you please state and spell your name for the record?
Israel Florez, Israel, Israel, Florez, Florez.
Officer Florez, are you currently employed?
Yes, ma'am. I'm a police officer for the Los Angeles Police Department.
Is that commonly referred to as the LAPD?
Yes, ma'am.
How long have you been an LAPD police officer?
A little over 7 years.
Approximately when did you start?
2018.
Do you currently have any other jobs?
Yes.
What are those?
I'm a reservist for the Army.
How long have you been a reservist in the Army?
A little over 15 years.
And what did you do for work prior to joining the LAPD?
I was a security guard.
Did you work for a specific company?
Yes, ma'am.
What company was that?
Securitas.
What kind of company is Securitas?
It's a high-rise security company, so they deal with high-rise buildings and hotels and stuff.
And is it a contractor?
Yes, ma'am.
Approximately how long did you work for Securitas?
10 years.
And did you work for Securitas in March 2016?
Yes, ma'am.
What location were you working at in March 2016?
I was working for the Intercontinental Hotel in Century City.
Where is Century City?
It's a neighboring city next to Beverly Hills.
Is that in the Los Angeles area?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you working there on March 5th, 2016?
Yes, ma'am.
Officer Florez, at a high level, can you explain to the jury what happened during your shift on March 5th, 2016?
I was at the security base. I received a call from Instant Services saying there was a woman in distress on the 6th floor.
And did you respond to that call?
Yes, ma'am.
And what happened after you responded?
After I responded, when I got out of the elevator, I observed a male and female in the elevator lobby.
Did you recognize the male and female?
Yes, ma'am.
Who did you recognize them to be?
Mr. Combs, Sean Combs.
And sitting here today in court, do you see Mr. Combs?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you identify him by describing a piece of clothing that he's wearing?
I think he's wearing a gray sweater.
Let the record reflect that the witness has identified the defendant. Now, Officer Florez, we'll come back to this incident that you've described at a high level involving Mr. Combs, but first, what was your title at Securitas in March 2016?
I was the assistant director of security.
How long did you hold that title?
For about a little over a year.
And what were your responsibilities as the assistant director of security at the Intercontinental Hotel?
Pretty much deal with any incidents that happened in the hotel, any trainings for new employees, assisted the director with a, what is it? Like any new employee for the hotel that needed training for security purposes, I would assist with that.
And so you were the assistant director, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
While you were the assistant director, who was the director of security?
The director was Bill Madrano.
And after you, what was your next position after being assistant director of security at the Intercontinental?
I became the director.
At the Intercontinental as well?
Yes, ma'am.
And when did you become the director of security at the Intercontinental?
I believe at the end or the beginning of 2017. The end of 2016, beginning of 2017.
What were your responsibilities as the director of security?
Pretty much the same thing I just mentioned, but also now I would be facilitating the training for the whole hotel, and I attend a lot more meetings with the hotel staff and managers.
How long were you director of security?
Like a year or a little bit over.
When did you leave Securitas?
2018.
And why did you leave?
I got hired on with Los Angeles Police Department.
Officer Florez, I want to focus now on the Intercontinental Hotel in Century City. Ms. Gavin, can you please publish for the witness the court and the parties' government exhibits 2B124 and 2B125? Officer Florez, do you see the photos on the screen in front of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you recognize these photos?
Yes, ma'am.
What are they?
Pictures of the Intercontinental Hotel.
And how do you know that?
It's a very unique hotel. It's like a pyramid-shaped hotel in Century City.
Are these photos fair and accurate depictions of the Intercontinental Hotel in Century City as it existed in March 2016?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, the government offers Government Exhibit 2B124 and 2B125 into evidence.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
Those exhibits will be admitted. Government's exhibits 2B24, 2B125 received in evidence.
Ms. Gavin, can you please publish these exhibits for the jury? Officer Florez, can you please explain to the jury what they're looking at in Government Exhibits 2B124 and 2B125?
They're looking at the Intercontinental Hotel
And where is that located once again?
in Century City.
Thank you, Officer Florez. Ms. Gavin, you can take this down. Now, turning back to your role as a security officer at the Intercontinental Hotel, approximately how many other people worked as security officers at the Intercontinental in March 2016?
About like 12.
And how generally were those 12 or so officers staffed?
It was pretty much 3 per shift, and we had 3 shifts.
Can you describe what shifts there were?
Yes, morning, which was 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., afternoon, 2 p.m. to 10 o'clock p.m., and nights, which was 10 o'clock p.m. to 6 a.m.
And you said that 3 officers staffed each shift, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Of those 3 officers, were any of them supervisors?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, generally speaking, where were security officers stationed during their shifts?
So if there was all 3 of them working on the shift, the supervisor would stay in the security base, and then the other 2 would be doing patrols, one inside and one outside.
Now, you mentioned security base. Can you explain to the jury what the security base is?
Just our security office. We used to just call it base for shorter or slang.
Now, moving on to a slightly different topic, did the Intercontinental Hotel have a video surveillance system in March 2016?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you describe that system?
It had 3 systems. One covered the roof, the other one, the interior of the hotel, and then the other system covered the parking lot.
I want to focus on the video surveillance system that was on the interior of the hotel. Where generally were the cameras within that system?
Obviously, every floor had cameras. There would be one on the elevator lobby and then 2 on the hallway, one facing north, the other one facing south. And depending on the floor, there would be more cameras if there was more hallways, so more turns.
But at least 3 cameras per floor?
Yes, ma'am.
Did the cameras run continuously?
They were motion, so yes.
So they ran continuously?
Yes, ma'am.
Did they record continuously?
Only when there was motion on the cameras.
They were motion activated?
Yes, ma'am.
What, if any, responsibility did security staff have with respect to video surveillance?
Just review cameras. That's pretty much it.
Where could security staff review the video surveillance?
So we had obviously our security base where we could review it. And supervisors and the director, there was another room. It was like the main room. And that was pretty much to troubleshoot the cameras if we had to. And you could also review cameras there.
So you specified 2 different rooms, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
The security base, is that right?
Yes.
Who had access to the security base?
Every security officer.
And you mentioned a main room. Is that the term you used?
Yes, ma'am.
Who had access to the main room?
The supervisors and the director of security.
Did anyone else at the hotel monitor video surveillance?
No, it was just us. If anybody needed to review footage, they would come to us.
Now, did security staff have the ability to rewind video surveillance?
Yeah, we were able to rewind, but it was only for like a good amount. It wasn't like, so you couldn't rewind further back than specific days, and if you did want to, then you would need a passcode or a password to do that.
Did you have a password or a passcode to rewind farther from however many days?
No, ma'am.
Was it possible to download video surveillance?
If you had that password, I'm sure you were able to.
Who among the security staff had the ability to download video surveillance with the passcode?
The director of security and the camera guy,
Who is the camera guy?
I don't remember his name.
Was he a member of the security staff?
No. He was like a third-party company.
Did you have the passcode to download or rewind video surveillance?
When I became the director, I did, but not at that time.
Not in March 2016?
No, ma'am.
Now, you mentioned a moment ago that one of your responsibilities as a security officer at the Intercontinental included responding to incidents. Do you remember that?
Yes, ma'am.
What exactly do you mean by responding to incidents?
Pretty much any incident. Like there's an altercation, trespass, any fights, We've had a couple suicides there, so any suicides. Just anything out of the ordinary.
Did you have to document your response to incidents?
Yes, ma'am.
How exactly did you document your response to incidents?
So we would do our incident reports, were just pretty much an email sent out to all the department heads.
And did you have a name for these sorts of emails that you would send to department heads?
Yeah, just incident reports.
So, what information were you required to include in an incident report?
Who got the 5 W's and the how?
The 5 W's.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you explain to the jury what the 5 W's are?
Who, what, when, where, and why?
What determined whether you filed an incident report or not?
Anything that had to do with the hotel. So if there's like destruction of the hotel or anything that specific department heads needed to know, we would send those emails out.
Did you include attachments to incident reports?
Yes, ma'am.
What sort of attachments?
Just pictures.
And where would the pictures come from when you attached them to incident reports?
So we had a camera at our security office. So if we would use that camera, but if let's say they didn't charge it, we would use our phones and take pictures with our phones and then send it as an attachment.
And what determined whether you would attach a photo to an incident report or not?
Like I said, anything that's like out of the ordinary, there's anything that was broken, anything that was damaged, that's sorts of,
Did you attach video surveillance to incident reports?
no, ma'am.
Why not?
We didn't have the password and we didn't know how to do it.
Did you otherwise reference video surveillance in incident reports?
Yes, ma'am.
How did you do that?
So we had the emails that we sent out, and then we had a book, which was like our pass down book. And anybody that was like coming into the shift, we would pretty much let them know what happened, like a brief summary of what happened in that book. And we would just tell them, like, see email. And then they would know to go to the out to the sent emails. And that's how they would get it.
And when you referenced video surveillance in these email incident reports, what did you include?
The timestamp of the video and the location of the video.
The location of the video?
Yes, ma'am.
What do you mean by that?
So if it happened on the 7th floor, we would put 7th floor camera, north camera, or lobby camera.
Who did you send incident reports to?
I would send it to my director. I would send it to the committee for the hotel, which was all the department heads. And if it had to do with like specific managers, like for the housekeeping, they didn't have an actual department head. They had a manager, so we would send the email to the manager.
Was drafting and sending incident reports something you did regularly when you worked at the Intercontinental Hotel?
Yes, ma'am.
Officer Florez, were you required to alert police about incidents?
Yes.
Under what circumstances?
Depending, like I said, if there was like an altercation and let's say there was a fight and there's like if it was only 3 of us and it was more than 3, then we would call the police so they can assist us. If there was someone trespassing that they didn't want to leave, let's say they were naked and we couldn't get them out, then we would call the police. The suicide, we would call the police. If there's like a fight and one of them wanted to press charges, then we'll detain them, call the police so they can assist us.
Generally speaking, Officer Florez, after you sent an incident report, what would happen?
So after we sent the incident report, it was pretty much like completely out of our hands. We're just observing and reporting, so anything that happened, we send it to them, and then if they needed a follow-up, they would ask questions, or they would come to the officer and they would review footage with us, but that's pretty much it.
I want to go back to March 5th, 2016. You said you were working that day.
Yes, ma'am.
What was your shift?
The morning shift, which is 6 a.m. to 2 p.m.
6 a.m. to 2 p.m.?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you remember who else was working with you that day?
Henry Elias, and I don't remember the other. There was two guards, though.
2 other officers?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, you described an incident that took place that day just a moment ago. Do you remember that?
Yes, ma'am.
Approximately what time did that incident take place?
Around 11 a.m.,
How were you made aware of the incident?
I received a call from Instant Services and pretty much letting me know that there was a woman in distress on the 6th floor.
Where were you when you got this call?
I was in the security base.
And you said you got this call from Instant Services.
Yes, ma'am.
What is Instant Services?
So the hotel has each floor has a phone. So if you pick it up, it goes directly to them. And it's pretty much, you don't have to dial anything. You just pick up the phone, it goes to Instant Services, and she pretty much directs the call. So if you need housekeeping, if you need security, she'll direct the call.
And what information was provided to you by Instant Services?
The only thing she said was there was a woman in distress on the 6th floor.
Did you respond to the call?
Yes, ma'am.
What, if anything, did you do before responding to the call?
I closed down the security base. I checked the cameras to see what was going on because I didn't want to go into a situation where I was, unprepared. I looked at the cameras and I seen a male, black, just pacing back and forth on the 6th floor.
Were you looking at the cameras on the 6th floor in real time?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you recognize the man pacing back and forth at that time?
No, ma'am.
Did you rewind the video surveillance to see what had happened before?
No, ma'am.
Why not?
I got the call saying that there was a woman in distress. I looked at the camera. I see a man walking back and forth. There was no woman in the video, so I'm thinking something happened. Because I didn't see a female in the footage. So I wanted to get there as fast as possible to make sure that nothing was going on.
Who, if anyone, did you notify of this call at the time that you responded?
So when I closed down the security base, as I was running to the elevator, I had my radio, so I radioed both my guys to respond back to the security base and just stand by for further.
What did you do next?
I got on the elevator, went to 6th floor. I got off, and then that's when I seen both the individuals.
So, what happened when you arrived on the 6th floor?
I seen Mr. Combs in a towel and some, colored socks, sitting down to my further away from me on my right side. And I seen Ms. Cassie in the corner, kind of covering her face and bundled up in the corner.
Did you recognize either of these individuals at this point?
Just Mr. Combs.
How did you recognize Mr. Combs?
He's a rapper, producer.
Ms. Gavin, can you please publish for the witness, the court, and the parties only government exhibits 2A101 and 2A401? Officer Florez, do you recognize these photos?
Yes, ma'am.
What are they?
Picture of Mr. Combs and Ms. Cassie.
And how do you know these individuals?
They were the ones involved in that incident.
Are they fair and accurate depictions of the individuals that you encountered in the elevator lobby of the Intercontinental Hotel in March 2016?
Yes, ma'am.
The government offers government exhibits 2A101 and 2A401 into evidence.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
These exhibits will be admitted. Government's Exhibits 2A-101, 2A401 received in evidence.
Ms. Gavin, can you please publish these exhibits for the jury? Officer Flores, can you please identify the individuals in these photos for the jury?
To my left is Mr. Combs, and to my right is Ms. Cassie.
And is the individual on the left in Government Exhibit 2A101, is that the same person as the individual that you identified as Mr. Combs just a moment ago?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Ms. Gavin, you can take those down. Now, Officer Flores, you said that you recognized Mr. Combs immediately. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you recognize the female immediately?
No, ma'am.
Did you come to understand the identity of the female?
Yes, ma'am.
How?
Later on in the day when I got home, I went home to tell my wife at the time that what had happened. And she's the one that brought it up oh, I think she's...
Objection. Hearsay.
Get a fresh question.
I'm sorry.
Can you rephrase your question?
Officer Flores, did you come to understand the identity of the female who was there in the elevator lobby?
Yes.
Who did you come to understand her to be?
Ms. Cassie.
Can you describe Mr. Combs' demeanor when you got off the elevator?
Yeah, so he was on the chair, slouched down, and he was at a blank stare. And yeah, as soon as I walked out, it was the best way I can describe it is like a devilish stare. He was just like looking at me. So when I got out of the elevator, I kind of was stuck because I'm looking at him. He's looking at me with like no movement, and then he starts to move.
What was he wearing?
Just the towel and socks.
Now, you said that you didn't recognize the woman at the time. Did you hear Mr. Combs refer to the woman?
Yes,
How did he refer to her?
Ms. CC. Your CC.
And this is the woman that you came to understand was Cassie.
Yes, ma'am.
What was the woman's demeanor?
Scared.
Can you describe what you mean by that?
Well, she was in the corner. She had her hoodie on. She was pretty much just covered up. I couldn't see her face, and she was just, just pretty much in the corner.
What, if anything, did you notice about the state of the elevator lobby?
So every floor had a flower vase, and it was destroyed pretty much on the floor.
Did you speak to the two individuals?
I did.
Who did you address first?
Mr. Combs.
What did you say?
I advised them, obviously, like, first I was like, hey, what's going on? Obviously, they were arguing, so I told them, like, hey, if you guys are going to argue, you guys have to take it back to your room. And then I told them the mess that was there, it was going to be charged to the room.
Had you addressed the woman?
Eventually, just talk to, if she's going to be arguing, pretty much to go back to the room.
What did she say?
She just said that she wanted her phone and her bag and she wanted to leave.
Well, what did you do next?
After talking to them, I pretty much started escorting both of them back to the room.
And did Mr. Combs interact with the woman after you started to escort them back to the room?
So I know they were arguing. I don't remember exactly what they were saying. But as I was escorting them, she left the opposite way. And we were walking towards the room. And then eventually he tried to like re-engage. And I was just pretty much reminding him like, hey, there's other guests in the hotel. Just out of respect for them, let's go back to the room.
What did Mr. Combs say to Cassie as he was trying to re-engage with her?
I don't remember.
Do you remember Cassie saying anything as she was walking back to the room?
Yeah, she was just saying that she wanted to get her phone and her bag and she wanted to leave.
And what did Mr. Combs say in response to that?
He did tell her at one point that he said, you're not going to leave.
And what did you say?
I told him like, well, if she wants to leave, she's going to leave. And that was pretty much it.
Did you follow them to their room?
Yes, ma'am.
Who entered the room?
Mr. Combs.
Did anyone else enter the room with Mr. Combs?
Yes, she finally did, Ms. Cassie.
Did the door close behind them?
No, ma'am.
Why did it not close?
I put my foot in between the door. Again, she wanted to leave. He said that he had mentioned I don't want her to leave. Well, I don't want you to leave. So I knew if I let the door close, something can happen. So I put my body in between the door before he closed it and watched her get her stuff.
Did you actually enter the room?
Half of my body was at the door, the other half was outside the door.
Were you able to see inside the room?
Yeah, the majority of the room I was able to see.
Now, you said that both Mr. Combs and Cassie entered the room, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Besides Mr. Combs and Cassie, was anybody else in the room?
Yes, ma'am.
Who?
It's male, black, wearing dark clothing. He was sitting at the corner of the bed.
Did you recognize this man?
No, ma'am.
Was he clothed?
Yes.
And what was he doing?
Nothing.
Can you describe his appearance?
He was fully clothed, male, black. He wasn't engaging in any conversation with either of them. He was just sitting in the corner of the bed.
Was he present in the room when Mr. Combs and Cassie entered?
Yes, ma'am.
Officer Florez, approximately how long were you standing at the door to the room?
A couple minutes.
Did Mr. Combs say anything else to Cassie?
So they were going back and forth. First, she was like, you can't leave. Then he was telling her to leave. So it was. It was just back and forth between both of them.
Did Cassie ultimately leave the room?
Yes, ma'am.
Which way did she go?
Back the same way to the elevator lobby.
And where was Mr. Combs when Cassie left the room?
In the room.
What, if anything, did Mr. Combs do after Cassie left?
So after she left, I told him like, hey, stay in the room. Again, everything is going to be charged to your room. As I started walking away, he called for me. He said, hey. I turned around. And he was pretty much holding like a stack of money. Pretty much, I don't know, that's the best way I can do it. And he was pretty much telling me like, hey, take of this. Don't tell nobody, pretty much.
What did you understand him to mean when he said don't tell anyone?
A bribe.
A bribe to do what?
Not to tell anybody.
How far away from you was Mr. Combs he offered you the money?
About 3 or 4 feet.
And just going back to something you said earlier, you said that initially Mr. Combs said you can't leave, and then he eventually said, leave. Is that right?
Yeah,
Can you describe approximately how much cash he offered you?
it was just $100 bill on the top, and then the rest it was just a stack of money.
Okay, back to the cash that Mr. Combs offered you. You said that it was a stack?
Yes, ma'am.
Approximately. Can you show the jury what you mean with your hands?
I don't know, if you extend your thumb to your pinky.
How did you respond to Mr. Combs's offer?
I told him, I don't want your money. Just go back into your room. Everything is going to be charged to the room and stay in your room. And I left.
Did you take the money?
No, ma'am.
Were there any video surveillance cameras focused on Mr. Combs's room?
No, ma'am.
Where did you go, Officer Florez, after Mr. Combs tried to hand you this stack of money?
I tried catching up to Ms. Cassie.
Did Mr. Combs follow?
No.
Where did Cassie go?
She went down to the valet area,
Where is the valet area?
right in front of the hotel lobby, right outside pretty much.
Outside the hotel?
Yes, ma'am.
What did you do when you and Cassie were in the valet area?
So obviously I noticed her, she was in the valet area. I still didn't know what had happened. The only thing I saw was the broken vase. So I went up to her. So where the cars pass, there's it's like a, it's a sidewalk. So it's a step down. She was at the corner or at the edge of it. So I stepped down and I got in front of her, pretty much directly in front of her. And then I was pretty much looking up at her. And then I just started asking her questions. What happened? Are you okay? And then I noticed she had a purple eye. And then I asked her, did he do that? Do you want me to call the cops? And all she kept saying is, I just want to leave.
Why did you offer to call the cops?
I mean, if anybody is going to, if there's an altercation, I'm still going to be like, hey, are you going to, do you want to call the cops? And then as a female getting hit, I'm obviously going to ask her if she wants to call the cops. I do understand, that they get scared and they don't want to do anything. So you kind of try to comfort them and, allow them to be to feel safe. So I asked her if she wanted me to call the cops and she just kept saying she wanted to leave.
Now, to be clear, Officer Florez, at this point, had you seen an altercation?
No, ma'am.
And at this point, had you reviewed any of the video surveillance?
No, ma'am.
Did Cassie eventually leave the hotel?
Yes, ma'am.
How?
So after speaking to her, I was trying to get some information. So I walked inside to go get Ade, who is a front desk manager. As I was coming back, there was a car that had pulled up and she left in that black SUV.
Did she drive herself in that black SUV?
No, ma'am.
Did she have a driver?
Yes,
Did you interact with the driver?
I did before I went inside.
Can you describe the driver?
About 7 feet, pretty big guy, male, black.
Did you speak with him?
Just briefly because he interrupted my conversation with her.
And can you describe the interaction?
So again, I was talking to her, trying to get her to see if she wanted me to call the cops. And he said, hey, she wants to leave. And I looked at him and I said, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to her. So I continued talking to her and she said, no, I just want to leave. And I said, hold on, I'll be back. And that's when I left.
And you had said that you were trying to get some information from her. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
What sort of information?
Just her name, phone number, just in case the hotel wanted to reach out to her for anything in the future.
At this point, did you know who she was?
No.
After Cassie left, Officer Florez, what did you do next?
So after she left, obviously I had already gotten 80, who is a front desk manager. And he said, all right, well, let's go talk to Mr. Combs so we can advise him of the hotel rules. So we went up to his room.
And what was the purpose of speaking with Mr. Combs?
So from what 80 had told me, it had happened.
Objection. Hearsay.
Ms. Slavic, maybe re-ask the question, and if the witness can just listen to the question and then answer.
Officer Florez, you said that you and 80 went up to Mr. Combs's room.
Yes, ma'am.
Why did you go up to Mr. Combs's room?
So we can remind him of the hotel rules.
Did you make it to his room?
Yes, ma'am.
Did Mr. Combs come to the door?
Yes, ma'am.
What was his demeanor as he came to the door?
He opens the door, he closed the door behind him, and
Can you explain how that came to be? Why he grabbed the phone?
so Ade, he talks with his hands, and he's always holding his phone. So while he was talking to Mr. Combs, he was doing this. And obviously Mr. Combs thought he was being recorded. So he grabbed his phone, and he was pretty much saying he said, are you recording me? And he grabbed the phone. And as he did that, then I pretty much pinned him to the wall and told him to let go of 80's phone.
How did Mr. Combs respond to you, pinning him to the wall?
I told him to let go of the phone. He eventually did because 80 was like, I'll show you my phone. I'll show you my phone. So then 80, was just trying to de-escalate the situation. He pretty much opened his phone and said, I'm not recording you, and he showed everything. So kind of de-escalated the situation.
What happened next?
Just told him the same thing I had told him, like everything that happened in the lobby is going to be charged to your room. And he reminded him that it was checkout, so he needed to check out by 3 p.m.
Now, you said that you had seen another man in the hotel room when you first responded to the incident. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
During this interaction involving Mr. Combs and 80, did you see that man in the room again?
No, ma'am.
Why not?
The door was closed behind him.
Did you leave Mr. Combs's room after this interaction?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you do anything else before leaving the 6th floor?
Yeah, we went to the elevator lobby, and I don't remember if it was me or 80, but one of us took pictures of the lobby.
Why?
It was property damage, and obviously there was broken stuff, so we needed to, 1, attach it to the email that I was eventually going to send, and 2, so we can send to the housekeeper so she can tell the housemen to clean it up.
Where did you go next, Officer Florez?
We went down to the lobby. I just told them that I would send the email as soon as I can. And I went back to security office.
You went back to the security office?
Yes, ma'am.
And what did you do when you returned to the security office?
I started writing the email of what had happened.
The email incident report?
Yes,
Can you just remind the jury what an incident report is?
just anything that happened in the incident. So the who, what, when, where, and why.
Ms. Gavin, can you please publish for the witness, the court, and the parties only the first 2 pages of Government Exhibit 7R141? Officer Florez, do you recognize the document on the screen in front of you?
Yes, ma'am.
What is it?
It's the incident report that I sent out.
How do you know?
My name is on it and hotel security email is on top.
Did you draft this incident report at or near the time of the actual incident on March 5th, 2016?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you draft and send incident reports like these in the course of your duties as a security officer at the Intercontinental Hotel?
Yes, ma'am.
Was drafting and sending reports a regular practice when you were a security officer at the Intercontinental?
Yes, ma'am.
The government offers Government Exhibit 7R141 into evidence.
All right, 7R141 will be admitted.
Same objection.
Noted.
Thank you.
Government's Exhibit 7R141 received in evidence.
Ms. Gavin, can you publish this exhibit for the jury, please? Officer Florez, can you explain to the jury what they're looking at here? And did you draft and send this document? Ms. Gavin, could you zoom in on the top portion of the email? Officer Florez, do you see the from line?
Yes, ma'am.
And what email address is that?
That's the security office email.
And who was this email sent to?
A-Day, who was the front desk assistant manager, Bill Madrano, who was my director, and the hotel committee, which is all the department heads of the hotel, and Sandy, who was the housekeeping manager.
What is the subject of the email?
It says pics from the 6th floor.
And what about the time and the date and time that the email was sent?
March 5th, 2016 at 3 p.m.
Now, you testified earlier that you responded to the incident around 11 a.m. that day, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Is the date and time of this email consistent with your recollection of when you sent the incident report?
Yes, ma'am.
You can zoom out, Ms. Gavin. Thank you. Now, Officer Florez, without going line by line, can you just give an overview of what's in the body of this incident report?
It's pretty much the incident from start to finish. The date, time, when I received the call, and just the incident of me interacting with both the individuals.
Did you include the individuals' names in the incident report?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, you mentioned that you had seen another man in the hotel room. Did you include that fact in the incident report?
No, ma'am.
Why not?
He was irrelevant. When I got there, he wasn't at the incident. When we got into the room, he didn't talk to nobody. So he was just someone that was just there.
And when you say, when you got there, he wasn't part of the incident, you mean when you got to the elevator lobby, he wasn't there?
Correct.
Mrs. Gavin, can you put up pages 3 and 4 of this document side by side? Officer Florez, what is depicted in these photos here?
The broken or the damage that was in the 6th floor.
Who took these photos?
Like I said, it was either me or 80 that took them.
Do these photos fairly and accurately depict the condition of the 6th floor elevator lobby when you responded to the incident?
Yes, ma'am.
And what was the purpose of attaching these photos to the incident report?
Again, it was kind of to let them know what had happened, the damage, and also so that the housekeeping manager can see what she needed to do to send the housemen and what the housemen needed to take to clean that. The damage.
Ms. Gavin, can you put up pages 5 and 6 of this document side by side? Officer Florez, what is depicted in these photos here?
That's dirt splattered on the wall, and then that's the flowers that were in the corner.
Do these photos accurately depict the wall area of the 6th floor lobby when you responded to the incident?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Ms. Gavin. You can take this down. Now, Officer Florez, after you sent the incident report that we just looked at, who, if anyone, contacted you?
The only one that contacted me was my director,
And remind the jury who that was?
Bill Madrano.
What, if anything, did Mr. Madrano tell you to do?
Obviously, he had reviewed the email, and all he told me was to...
Objection. Hearsay.
Overruled. You can answer.
He told me to review the footage and then add anything else that I observed on the footage to the email.
On the video surveillance footage?
Yes, ma'am.
So did you review the video surveillance footage?
Yes, ma'am.
When did you review the video surveillance footage?
Almost simultaneously when we were talking on the phone, I started reviewing. And then I was pretty much telling him what I was seeing. And then that's when he said, okay, add that to the email.
And why did you review the video surveillance?
Same thing. He had told me to review. Make sure that there was nothing else that we missed on the first email.
Your Honor, may I have permission to approach the witness?
You may.
Officer Florez, I've put a drive in front of you. Do you recognize this thumb drive?
Yes, ma'am.
How do you recognize it?
It's the drive that has about 5 videos.
Did you review the contents of the drive?
Yes, ma'am.
When?
Yesterday.
And did you initial the tag attached to the drive after you reviewed it?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you see your initials on that tag right there?
Yes, ma'am.
And, again, what is on this drive?
It's 2 cell phone videos that I took and 3 other camera footages.
Are you certain of these videos?
Yes, ma'am.
Do the contents of the drive fairly and accurately depict what you saw on March 5th, 2016?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that true of each file on the drive?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, the government offers into evidence the contents of this drive. That's Government Exhibits 3B101, 3B102, 10C103, 10C104, and 10C105.
All right. Are there any objections that the court has not previously addressed?
Based? No.
All right. These exhibits will be admitted. Government's Exhibits 3B-101, 3B102, 10C103, 10C104, 10C105 received in evidence.
Ms. Gavin, can you please publish Government Exhibit 10C103? Now, we're going to play this video, Officer Florez, but before we play it, can you just describe to the jury what we're looking at here on the screen?
That's the 6th floor elevator lobby.
And do you see the timestamps at the top of the video?
Yes, ma'am.
What do they say?
It says March 5th, 2016, 11:10 a.m.
And is that generally consistent with your recollection of when this incident took place?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Gavin, could you please play the video all the way through and then we'll go back and walk through specific segments? Officer Florez, I want to walk through this video segment by segment. But first, did the video surveillance at the Intercontinental have audio?
No, ma'am.
Ms. Gavin, could you restart and play the video through 29 seconds? Officer Florez, who is this?
Ms. Cassie.
Do you notice the pixelation in this video?
Yes, ma'am.
Was that typical of the video surveillance system used at the Intercontinental in March 2016?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Gavin, please play through 31 seconds. Who is this individual, Officer Florez?
That's Mr. Combs.
Ms. Gavin, please continue playing through 56 seconds. Officer Flores, have you seen this video before you responded to the incident on the sixth floor?
No, ma'am.
Ms. Gavin, please continue playing through 1 minute 16 seconds. What is happening here, Officer Flores?
She picked up the phone, so it pretty much went straight to instant services.
This is the phone that connected to instant services that you described earlier.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Gavin, could you continue playing through 126, please? Now, Officer Flores, did you notice how the video kind of jumped right there?
Yes, ma'am.
Was that typical of the video surveillance system as well?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Gavin, please continue playing through 214. Now, first, Officer Flores, can you remind the jury of what Cassie said as she was heading back to the room?
She just wanted to get her phone and her bag and wanted to leave.
And can you remind the jury of what you found when you arrived at the elevator lobby?
The broken vase and flowers that were...
And these were depicted in the photos that we just looked at?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Gavin, can you play the video to the end, please? Now, Officer Flores, what do you see here at the very end of this video?
It's me coming out of the elevator, the lobby.
That's you?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Gavin, could you please publish what is in evidence as Government Exhibit 10C104? Now, Officer Flores, before we start playing this video, can you explain to the jury what we're looking at here?
We're looking at the north hallway of the 6th floor.
So where in relation to this, to the video that we see on this screen, is the elevator lobby that we saw in the previous video?
To the right.
Those doors to the right?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Gavin, could you please start at 319 and play to 324? Who do you see in that little clip that we just played, Officer Flores?
Ms. Cassie going south on the hallway and me going back to the lobby.
Ms. Gavin, I want you to continue playing through 707. Officer Flores, I'm going to ask you some questions as we play the video. Now, who is in this frame?
Myself and Mr. Combs.
And what was happening here?
Pretty much just escorting him back to his room.
What, if anything, was Mr. Combs saying at this time?
I don't remember, but I'm sure I was just letting him know, like, we got to go back to your room.
Now here, around this 4:48 timestamp, what's happening here?
Ms. Cassie is coming back north on the hallway.
And what, if anything, was Mr. Combs saying to Cassie?
Pretty much started to argue again. I'm trying to de-escalate, telling him to go back to the room.
Here, around the 5:22 timestamp, what is happening here?
That's when she is saying she wants to get her cell phone and her bag and she wants to leave.
And she's heading towards the room?
Yes, ma'am.
This is around the 5:51 timestamp. Who is this?
It's a houseman that's in charge of that floor.
Was he involved in the incident at all?
No, ma'am.
And that is around the 6:17 timestamp. Who is this in the frame?
That's Ms. Cassie going back to the lobby, elevator lobby.
Here around the 6:38 timestamp. Who is this?
That's me.
Where were you going?
Going to catch up to Ms. Cassie.
Why did you go down this hall?
So what I was checking was the stairwell that leads to the bottom floor. And I didn't see her in the lobby, so either she had gotten in or she probably went through the stairs. So I was checking to see if I can hear her going down the stairs.
You were just checking for Cassie.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Ms. Gavin. You can take this down. Now, Officer Flores, had you reviewed this video surveillance before you sent the incident report?
No, ma'am.
And after viewing the video surveillance, did you call the police?
No.
Why not?
After speaking to her, she didn't respond to any of my questions. She was just saying, I wants to leave. I just want to leave. And even when I offered her, like, hey, the cops can go to the back of the building, nobody is going see. She just kept saying, I just want to leave. So there was no victim there. Obviously, nobody was pressing charges. And then by the time I did draft up the email, everybody was gone because Mr. Combs had left already.
At that point, did you know who Cassie was at that point?
No,
Did you have any of her contact information?
no.
Now, can we pull up the incident report at 7R141? Please, Miss Gavin, can you highlight the third paragraph? Officer Flores, you just said that at the point that you drafted and sent the incident report, Mr. Combs had left the hotel. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you remind the jury what the manager told Mr. Combs when you were at the Mr. Combs's hotel door?
Pretty much the same thing. That everything that had happened in the elevator lobby was going to be charged to the room, and he reminded him that checkout was coming up, so he needed to check out and leave.
And focusing on one of the, I guess, third to the last sentence, starting with he saw Ahmad Ade holding his phone. Miss Gavin, can you just highlight that sentence? Officer Flores, can you read beginning at no one was recording?
No one was recording him. That the safety and the privacy of the guest is important to the hotel. And if he tried to do something like that, he would get kicked out and escorted off the property by LAPD.
That's the Los Angeles Police Department.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Ms. Gavin. You can take that down. And you said that Mr. Combs did eventually leave the hotel?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, going back to your review of the video surveillance, what, if anything, did you add to the incident report after you reviewed the video surveillance?
Pretty much the whole, altercation between him and her.
You included a description of that altercation?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you attach the video to the supplemented incident report?
No, ma'am.
Why not?
I had no way of doing that. No password, and I didn't know how to do that.
Now, Officer Flores, what else, if anything, did you do with the video surveillance capturing this incident?
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry.
Did you do anything else with the video surveillance after you reviewed it?
Oh, yeah, I recorded two videos of the video
How did you record those 2 videos?
with my cell phone,
What kind of phone did you have?
an iPhone.
Why did you record it with your iPhone?
Again, I was going home. And if I would have told my wife, hey, this is what happened, she wouldn't have believed me. So here's a video.
When did you make these cell phone recordings?
Right after, while I was still at work that same day.
Ms. Gavin, can you please publish what's in evidence as Government Exhibit 3B102? Officer Flores, before we start this video, can you just explain what we're looking at?
The 6th floor elevator lobby.
And what video is this?
This is mine.
One of your cell phone videos?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Gavin, can you play the video? And Officer Flores, can you just talk us through what's happening? Actually, pause, please. Officer Flores, is there sound in this video?
Background noise, yes.
What do you mean by background noise?
I was recording with my phone, so anything that was happening in the office, you'll be able to hear it.
Thank you. Keep playing, Ms. Gavin, please. What is happening here, Officer Flores?
I'm pretty much explaining everything that I'm seeing and that they had to go to their room. I'm telling them, obviously there is damage to the lobby, so that needs to get fixed, and it is going to be charged to the room.
Who is that?
That was me.
Officer Flores, was the portion of the video that we just watched, was that portion captured on the videos that we watched just a moment ago?
No.
Did you record any other portions of this incident?
Just an altercation between them two in this one.
Miss Gavin, could you please publish Government Exhibit 3B101, and could you start playing the video? Whose voice could you just hear, Officer Flores?
That was Henry Elias.
Another security officer?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, going back to 146, please, Ms. Gavin, and thank you. Officer Flores, what do you see towards the back of the video?
What do you mean?
Like, in the back of the video, what do you see?
I see Mr. Combs sitting down.
And how is that reflected?
Backwards, I guess. I don't know.
In other words, can you explain the layout of the 6th floor lobby?
Yeah. So he's obviously in the mirror. You can see that he's on the right side, but he's actually on the left.
In other words, the image that you see of Mr. Combs sitting in the chair, that's him being reflected in the mirror?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you continue to play, Miss Gavin, through the end? Thank you. You can take that down, Miss Gavin. Officer Flores, did you record any other portion of the video surveillance of this incident?
No, ma'am.
Did you download the videos from the hotel's computers?
No, ma'am.
Why not?
Like I said, I didn't have no password and I didn't know how to do that. Only the director knew how to do that.
Besides these 2 videos that you recorded with your iPhone, do you have any other copies of the video surveillance?
No, just the ones that I recorded.
Now, you mentioned that you discussed the incident with your supervisor, Bill Medrano, is that right?
Yes.
Who else at Securitas, if anyone, did you discuss the incident with?
The incoming security guards. Again, I had to give them a pass down. I explained to them what had happened, showed them the video just so they know what happened, pretty much.
And who specifically were those guards that you gave the pass down to?
The afternoon supervisor and the incoming guards.
Who were they?
It was Eddie, who was the afternoon supervisor, and then I can't remember the other guy's name.
What is Eddie's last name?
Garcia.
What else, if anything, did you do to document the incident before you left that day?
Just the email and the pass-down book that I had stated earlier.
Did you work the following day?
No, ma'am.
Why not?
My days off were Sunday, Monday.
When was the next day that you returned to work?
On Tuesday,
Did you try to view the video surveillance footage when you returned to work?
I did. One of the guards that wasn't there, I'm not sure if he was on vacation or something. He wasn't there. He comes up. Obviously, he gets there. He said, hey, I've been trying to see the video you've been talking about. I can't see it. Oh, I know where it's at, right? So I go on the camera system and I try to review it, but the camera is blue. So it was typical for those cameras to go off. So we didn't think anything of it. It's gone pretty much.
What did you do when the video wasn't available?
I told him that I had taken a video of with my phone. I showed him with my phone.
Did you see the video surveillance footage again after March 2016?
Yes,
Under what circumstances?
on the news.
And when was that you saw the video in the news?
Last year, May, something like that.
Just a moment, Your Honor. Nothing further.
All right, cross-examination.